So let me talk a little bit about Vanguard University and a little bit about what we are about here. And then I'm going to share with you a little bit more about myself. So, first of all, my name is Dr. Nathan Brais. I'm very grateful to be with you today to speak with people who are wanting to pursue a career in education. I heard from both Daisy and Angelica that you're both interested in going into teaching, and sounds like you might be working with different age groups. But either way, all of us who are educators, we can really make a big difference in the lives of our students. Vanguard University has a really special focus when it comes to our School of Education. So, in our School of Education, we have different majors like early childhood education, liberal studies, which is like our elementary teacher kind of bachelor's degree. So if you're interested in, working as a multiple subject teacher eventually, you would do that major. And then we also have other like certificate programs that are more like short-term programs, especially for people who are interested in becoming like preschool teachers. And then I'm going to talk about also our credential programs here today and really focus on that quite a bit, and also our master's in education. But whether you're doing a master's degree with us, a teaching credential, or getting a bachelor's degree, here at Vanguard University, we are all about education for love and wisdom. And, we're in a really interesting time in our country, in the world. There is a lot of division in the world today. If you're paying attention to the news this week, there's a lot of division even this week, and sad stories in the news, and also very sad and unfortunate responses to that news as well. So when we look at the world today, it's a confusing place because really, here's the problem. Everything is being politicized, whether you're right wing, white nationalist, or on the left side, a Democrat or a liberal or even a far left person. That political divide is felt throughout all of society today. And we feel at Vanguard University that there's a better way to live our life, and there's a better way to do the work of education. We're not here to argue with people or to win one side of the spectrum or the other. We are really here as educators to facilitate an environment where everyone can feel welcome, everyone can feel nurtured by their teacher, everyone can come regardless of background and feel like they are valued as a human. And we do that work with love and with wisdom. And for us, Vanguard University is a private university. We are a private Christian university. So that perspective of our faith is important, and how we kind of play into this theme of love and wisdom. That said, if you are not of a Christian faith or Catholic background, we still have a place for you in our university. So we are not excluding people who don't yet have that experience or that faith background. But that is part of what Vanguard University is. And it does mean different things depending on what program you're going into. But I think the important thing to share here is just that we really do care about people in our program and at our university. We want our teachers, we want our future teachers to be prepared very well. So that is the wisdom, right? To know how to do this work of teaching and how to handle a rather complex set of duties and responsibilities, and also a complicated world. Our students are not coming into the classroom these days just as, a simple kind of act. They are coming in with a lot on their shoulders. They're sometimes bearing things from home. They're sometimes going through struggles themselves personally. So there's a lot of things to think about when you are a teacher. And I think it's important to know that. I see a note here that my audio is not heard well, so I'm going to try to adjust something on my audio real quick. So just give me a second. Okay, so I'm just gonna max the volume there. So it should be a little bit louder now, and hopefully that will work well. I'm gonna do this too. I just changed something on my audio, so hopefully that's a little bit better. I see Veronica just joined us. Welcome, Veronica. I'm Dr. Nathan Brais, and I'm talking about Vanguard University. But now I'm going to share a little bit about myself and my background here as an educator and my family as well, because I think it's important for you to know who is this guy who's talking to you. So, welcome everybody again. Have you considered a career in education? Well, let me tell you about my life a little bit here. I'll take down my slide just so you can just see me.
Hi,
So,
Nathan. Oh,
yeah, Marie,
sorry, your audio is like it sounds foggy. I don't know how to describe it.
I'm not sure what it is. Let me try to switch to a different microphone. Let's see. Is this coming through clearer?
Yes, there
That
you
is?
go.
Okay. Yeah, it was coming through my webcam before, but now it's a little bit better. Is that right?
Yes, thank
Awesome.
you.
Okay. So, I was talking a little bit about education for love and wisdom earlier, folks. I'm sorry if that wasn't very clear, but it is a big part of what we're focused on at Vanguard. We want our teachers to know how to navigate the environment of today, which is a complicated environment, but we want them to be able to do that with love, genuine care for students, and wisdom. That is understanding the work of teaching and being able to adapt and to be able to be effective in different scenarios and with many different types of students. So that's very important to us at Vanguard that our teachers are well prepared, and they are. And we have a very great reputation in especially our area down here in like Orange County, Costa Mesa, Anaheim, Irvine, Tustin kind of areas, all the way down to San Juan Capistrano and those type of areas. And then even going up to like Garden Grove, we're very well known. Also areas like La Habra, we have people who are placed in La Habra and Brea as well. Now, let me tell you a little bit about myself. As I was mentioning, I am today Dr. Nathan Brais, but I represent a family that originally came from Mexico in really the earlier part of the 1900s. And when we came, we settled in San Jacinto, California. So that is like Hemet, like South Riverside County. And so our generation kind of goes back there. My great grandfather came here and he had five kids. Then my grandfather came later, and he himself was an interesting story. He was a bullfighter. That was his like young kid kind of job. So back in the day in Mexico, he could be a torero and he could work as a bullfighter, but he did it in secret. So his mom never knew about it. And then he met my grandmother. She was from Guadalajara. He's from Michoacan. And the two of them got together and then they moved into Southern California, into the house where my great grandfather had settled there in San Jacinto. And that's where my mom grew up with her four siblings. And that is kind of the start of our family story. We actually are a family now of two categories. We either are educators, like teachers or counselors, um, or we are engineers. So I have some of my cousins, a couple of my uncles worked in engineering, whether it was water technology or civil engineering. Mainly, those are the areas. Computer engineering is another area. And then I have two younger cousins who are now rocket scientists. They're aerospace engineers. So that's my family. I've always been around teachers and educators. Most of my cousins are teaching in middle school, elementary. My aunts, all my aunts are teachers. My mom was a middle school teacher for 23 years before she retired. So I've always been around that, and I always knew that I would go into a field to the field of education. So for me, education is like my family business. Like I understand what it means to be an educator, and maybe you are like that as well. Maybe you have a family member or a close friend or relative who was a teacher. If you do, could you put that in the chat and just let me know? Do you have a family member who's a teacher? And if not, why is it that you want to go into teaching? I'd love to see that. So if you're still listening, Daisy, Angelica, Veronica, you're welcome to add those thoughts in the chat, and I'd love to read those. Tell me why you're going into education. Do you have family who influenced you or otherwise? Well, I definitely wanted to do that. And when I went to college, I ended up going to the same university where my mom graduated from, and it's Cal State University, Long Beach. I went there to major in, at first, English creative writing, and then I switched it to English education because for a long time, my goal had been that I wanted to go and become an English teacher because I had some really great experiences, especially in high school. So I wanted to do that. Then, after I got my bachelor's degree in English education, kind of as I was finishing that last year, I decided to apply to a counseling program because I was working as a part-time student worker in the EOP program there. And I decided, you know what? I really like doing this work of helping students and advising them, helping them plan for their future. And so I decided to apply to a master's program in counseling. And so since that time, which is now a little while back, I have been working in higher education. In I have worked in community colleges. I have worked in state universities like Cal State, Long Beach, for example. I have worked in private schools like this school, Vanguard University. And one thing that's consistent across all of those experiences is that I've met some really wonderful students who have amazing stories, and I have helped them to realize their potential. And that for me is probably my most rewarding, the biggest reward that I get from having a career in education is seeing people kind of develop during their college years and then eventually find their way into the career path that they have been dreaming of for years. So when you think about a career in education, right? Um, I put this illustration up to show you that there are many different roads. There's many different ways that you can go when it comes to educating people. So you might be, for example, a school teacher, but there are many, many other ways to go in education. Lots of on-ramps and off-ramps. So when you look at this freeway system going through, you can see all these different roads going in different directions. And I kind of think of this as a great illustration for how the field of education can be. There are many, many possibilities that are there for you. So if you're thinking about going into education, I want to commend you. I want to congratulate you. I want to encourage you and tell you you've chosen a good way to go, but there are many options. Veronica, thanks for sharing that you do have a cousin who's a teacher, and you like to see the joy that she brings to kids. I love that. And that is totally what a teacher should be doing, right? Teachers should be making kids excited about learning. They should be happy to go to school every day. In your house, Angelica, all of your sisters are elementary teachers. That's amazing. That is really cool. So thank you for sharing that, Angelica. I think that's wonderful to be around that environment because I think teachers are awesome people. So I'm sure that you guys have lots of great conversations at home. All right, so why be a teacher? I think, I was talking about how there's a broader range a broader range of careers. But let's talk about teaching. Why would you be a teaching? Well, teacher, why would you be a teacher? Well, number one, It's not just a job. When it comes to being a teacher, you know what I found out watching my mom, and I work with a lot of people here at Vanguard who have all been teachers either in the past or are teaching now or are becoming teachers. You find out that almost everybody who wants to go into teaching, they have this sense of calling, right? They feel like their life's purpose would not be fulfilled as much if they didn't do this work of being a teacher. They just feel it inside. And maybe when they were even a small kid, they thought about, you know what? I want to be that person in front of the classroom, facilitating learning. And, so in that sense, teaching is not just a job, right? It's not just something you do to get money. It is a calling. It is something that is a lot deeper than just a job there. And then also being a teacher is a kind of a cool thing because I have seen lots of people who go into other careers in education. For example, one of our professors here was a fifth grade teacher for years and then eventually wanted to become a university teacher, right? Angelica, you were sharing in the chat that you used to be a chemistry teacher at the university, right? But now maybe you're interested in maybe teaching chemistry to middle schoolers or high schoolers, right? So we'll talk about that. But there's all kinds of different pathways to other areas of education. Another example is that, some teachers eventually become principals. They become what we call administrators in the system of education. Now, also, another good reason to become a teacher is because California needs teachers, okay? This has been a problem for almost a decade now, where we have the California teacher shortage. We just don't have enough teachers, especially to serve the students in the most at underrepresented or underserved areas of California. So we really do need teachers, and we need people who want to go into this field. We need people who are passionate about helping kids to learn. So these are some quick reasons for why you would become a teacher. Now, this is an interesting study that now is just a few years old, so it's not totally irrelevant. But the Heart Research Associates worked with UCLA. You've heard of UCLA, of course, the Center for the Transformation of Schools, and then the California Teachers Association, CTA. What they did was they sent out surveys to people who were working as teachers and they asked two different groups of people some questions. So the first group of people were people who had been teaching more than 5 years. And then the second group of people are people who have been teaching for less than 5 years, 5 years or less, right? So this is what I love. When you talk to teachers in California and you ask them, what's the reason you became a teacher? Why did you become a teacher? Or why are you still a teacher? Why are you continuing to be a teacher if you've been teaching more than 5 years, for example? And everybody answered at the very top that they're there to help students. And I love that, right? If you're somebody who wants to help students, then you probably are going to be an excellent teacher. And if that's your top priority, then you also match with a lot of teachers in California making a positive difference in our world today. I love that, right? Now, you don't see the salary as the top rank, right? But I will say that the salary of being a teacher is not too bad. And I'm going to share with you a slide, an example from my high school district, and I'll give you a little story too. Also, there's some good job security that comes with being a teacher. I can definitely testify to that. We love to see our teachers go into the field and have long, rich careers. And teaching is one of those jobs where you do find a greater sense of job security, meaning once you get into the field, you're not going to have to be looking for another job in 2 or 3 years. You will always have opportunities. And sometimes teachers do have to move around a little bit, but it's not going to be as difficult to find a job as a teacher as it might be in other fields and professions. Also, it's nice to have summers off, right? I think people like that idea. And a lot of teachers, they do work 10 months a year and they get about 2 months off every summer. So that's a benefit. And then you can see some of the other reasons why people became teachers or are continuing to teach there as well. So I think that's interesting to share with you. And maybe some of these things you're thinking about as well. Now, let me tell you, I am also a native of Whittier, California. So, are any of my people on here from Whittier? Do you live in Whittier? Are you from Whittier, Daisy, Angelica, or Veronica? Any of you? Are you from Whittier or do you live in Whittier? I'm thinking if you go to Rio Hondo College, you might be from Whittier.
Yes, I'm from there.
Good for you. All right. A Whittier person. And that's me. I'm born and raised in Whittier, California. That's my hometown. And I have been around Whittier for a good amount of years. I now actually live in Orange County, so I'm having the OC experience these days. But let me give you an example of what it looks like to be a certificated teacher, someone who has a teaching credential working in the Whittier Union High School District, okay? This chart I just pulled yesterday from the website from the Whittier Union High School District. And I want to show you something about this salary schedule. If you look with me at the column requirements section that is down toward the bottom, you can see A, B, C, and D, right? So C is typically going to be somebody who has gone through a credential program. So the way you read these salary schedules is you look at the category of the job, then you look at the column, and then you look at the step, okay? So when you become a public school teacher, this is what you get paid. You look at your column and then you compare it with your step. Your column is based on your education. Your step is based on how many years you have been a teacher. So a first-year teacher with a credential is going to go with step one, and in column C, they're going to make $69,513 per year. Thank you, Daisy. I see you'll be the first teacher in your family. That's wonderful to see that. You're going to make a huge difference. And maybe one day, some other members of your family will join and become teachers or educators. So in column C, you can see here that after about 11 years of being a teacher, look at that. You could be making $105,000 a year as a high school teacher in the Whittier Union High School District with just a credential. Now, there are other options for education. You can see there's three more columns. Can you believe when you look at column F that you have a lot of teachers in here who may have been working for 7 years or 10 years or 18 plus years or even 24 plus years? They're making $132,000, $139,000 a year as a teacher. So what I can tell you is if you go into teaching 10 years from now, those dollar amounts will go up. So I share this with you to say, hey, teachers are not in the poor house, right? Teachers are making a good salary. They have good benefits. And because there's job security with being a teacher, if you're a good teacher, if you're someone who genuinely cares for students and obviously doesn't do something, to jeopardize that, you can have a long and fruitful career in teaching and make a good salary. And if you advance your education, if you go to get a master's degree or a doctorate degree, you could be teaching chemistry, for example, and be making very decent money as a teacher. So let me shift gears now, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Vanguard's teacher preparation programs, okay? So we have here at Vanguard an awesome program, I would say. It has grown tremendously in the last 2 years here. About 2 years ago, our credential program was a little bit smaller, And since about 2 years ago, our program has grown by 300%. And let me tell you why that is the case. The experience that our teachers have in the Vanguard teacher preparation programs is very personal. There is a lot of direct contact with our faculty, and because of that, our students feel very supported through the process of becoming a teacher. It is hard to go through a teaching credential program, but even harder to do it when you feel like nobody cares about you, when you feel like nobody's checking in on you, when you feel like nobody really wants to know you for who you are and find out what you're interested in. Here at Vanguard, we're all about that. And that's why this mission for education for love and wisdom really is a part of what we do. And we really mean it when we say that we care for our students. We really mean it when we're here supporting you and guiding you through this process. We want you to be prepared well, but we also want you to know that we care. At Vanguard, we have a couple of different things you should know about. First of all, we have options in multiple subject. That means if you want to become an elementary school teacher, that would be a multiple subject credential. We have single subject. That would be mostly people working in middle schools or high schools. Single subject is something that it tends to be that you might have majored in a particular area, a particular subject area like chemistry or English or art or music, and you want to get your single subject in that particular subject. So you're only going to be teaching classes that are relevant or related to that one subject area. Multiple subject, you're going to teach elementary kids, and you're going to have all the different subjects in your purview. Now, PK3 ECE Specialist is the newest credential in California, and we offer it here at Vanguard. So I think we were talking earlier, Daisy, about how you're really interested in looking at the early childhood area. And anybody who kind of wants to go into that area typically would major in early childhood education or a similar degree, or human development can also be another degree. And with that, you can go in and continue into the PK3 ECE Specialist Credential Program, which enables you to teach the preschool ages all the way up to third grade. Now, this is very significant, okay? I said this is a new credential. Well, I want you to think about that. What this means is now going forward in the state of California, there will be preschool teachers who have a California teaching credential. And our program is the first in the state of California to offer this program. So we had the very first 3 people finish this program here at Vanguard University. It's a historic moment for the field of early childhood education because now our earliest educators are going to be paid better. They're going to have the salaries I was talking about, but they're also going to be able to go in with a deeper level of training and the backing of the state of California teaching credential. And they're not just limited to working with preschool. Now, these credential folks can work with our transitional kindergarten people, our TKers, our kindergartners, our first grade, second, and third grade. So there's a lot of great opportunity with this credential, and it's a new thing, but we have the biggest program in the state of California here at Vanguard University, and it's 100% online. We also have education specialists, and I like to talk about this because it is one of the harder areas to find people who want to pursue working with special ed students. But I think if you are somebody who has an interest in that area, you should definitely pursue that a bit further and go into an education specialist credential program. We offer that here at Vanguard. We also have online options for the Ed Specialist credential. But if you have any interest in working with the special ed population, you should really look into becoming a credentialed teacher in Ed Specialist. One thing I will say is that there is a greater need for special ed teachers who care about kids, who can do this work of education with the special ed population. It is very important for us to have great educators in the classroom, but there aren't enough ed specialists to go around. There just aren't. And most districts are struggling to fill even the vacancies that they need. They're mostly understaffed in ed specialists. So this means that if you go into ed specialist as your credential area, you're going to have a pretty easy time finding a job, finding a district who needs you. And if you care about that population or have some background or experience, or even just a level of interest in working with them, it is definitely an important and great way to go. Now, what's important to share with you all here today as community college students is that we do have an undergraduate option for completing our credential program that is called the ITEP, or Integrated Teacher Education Programs. The ITEP programs will provide you a way to come in as a transfer student and typically within 2 years finish your bachelor's degree and your credential. So it is an accelerated model for finishing your bachelor's degree, and your credential program is actually integrated into your bachelor's degree program. So if you are interested in learning more about the ITEP program, I'd love to connect with you after this call. And I don't know if some of you might need to get going at some point. I want to put my email in the chat right now so that you have my contact information. And if you're viewing this video online on YouTube after this session took place live, I would encourage you to reach out and let's chat. Let's talk about what you want to do for your future education career. And we might discuss whether the ITEP program would be a good fit, a good idea for you. Now, some other reasons you might choose Vanguard. Number one, we do manage our class sizes, and typically we have about 15 to 20 students in each of our classes. That number grows a little bit depending on semester to semester recruitment, but typically we're somewhere around this range. What this means is that you get more of that personal contact with our professors. Our professors will know you by name. They will know things about you and your interests and maybe your family. Whatever you've shared with them, it matters to them. And there's a lot more of that direct connection with faculty. We have online credential options now in every one of our credential programs. So if you're living in Whittier and you want to do a Vanguard University credential program, you can do that program online, whether you're single subject, ed specialist, PK3, or multiple. Of course, a unique part of our vision is education for love and wisdom. You see it all over my slides, and I've talked about how this is so important to us that we really prepare our educators to make a positive impact on the world with love and wisdom. We offer tailored support for candidates. This means that we care about what's going on in your life. If there's something of a challenge going on, we have support systems in place to help guide you through and support you. We have many local district partnerships, and now we have about 70 plus district partnerships that are going throughout the state of California. So we're not just in the Orange County area now. We have things in farther Southern California, Central California, Northern California, and we're supporting candidates all over the state of California through these local district partnerships. This means that we're able to place you for your student teaching requirements in districts that are local to you. We have flexible scheduling here, and that is designed for working professionals. Most of our classes and class meetings, if you're doing online meetings, are going to be in the evenings. So we know people are working. So you're getting off work at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and all of our programs are adjusting to make sure that we can meet the needs of a working professional as well. All right, let me share with you some cool things here, and then I want to talk with you a little bit more before I go into a couple more slides. This is Sophia. She is now actually an English teacher, and she's an amazing educator who went through our program just a couple of years ago. Now she's so happy. Look at her smile. She is a teacher in a high school and doing just a wonderful job working with her students. Here's an example just of one of our Vanguard teacher credential completers who's now had that success story. In the middle here, we have our dear Jenny. She is now working in an elementary school. I believe her class is third grade, if I remember correctly. And she's just loving it. This is pajama day, so everybody's wearing pajamas. And look at the kids behind her. They're big smiles. She's making such a positive impact. This is what it's all about for us. And then we have also Perla. She went through our ITEP program, graduated just a couple years ago. She's now working also in Wilson Elementary School, and doing a great job. Again, bringing love and wisdom into the classroom. And that's could definitely be you. That's what I want you to see here. This could be you once you have kind of passed through these next couple phases. And I want to make sure we get to I get to answer some of your questions as well. If you're looking on your laptop, you can see here that we have a QR code, and you can look at some of our episodes that is from our podcast. The podcast is called Education for Love and Wisdom. You will hear my voice on there. You will hear a lot from our dean, Dr. Jeff Hiddenberger, and many of our faculty. There's also an entire season where we just have our students, our credential candidates who were working through the program or had just finished, talking about their experience, talking about their passion for education. It's a very inspiring, positive, uplifting podcast. So I encourage you to check it out and feel free to use that QR code to do that. As I mentioned, again, we do have the PK3 credential online. One thing I want to note here is that we do have a BA plus credential option available. And if you're interested in transferring in, we can talk about how it's possible to complete both your bachelor's degree and your credential here in the PK3 area. If you look at the left-hand column here, it breaks it down. And I just want to emphasize here, our cost per unit for the ECE bachelor's degree is very, very competitive. In fact, we found out it might be a little bit cheaper than Cal State Fullerton. So you'd have to verify that. I have not looked at the tuition for this year, but we are definitely comparable to the state universities in terms of what we're charging for that program. So although we are a private university, I would just say that does not mean we are unaffordable. We have lots of folks here who use financial aid to pay for their courses. We also have folks who are doing like payment plans and things like that. It is not out of reach. If you look at our other undergraduate programs, it is a bit more expensive, but our ECE BA could be a cost savings depending on what universities you're looking at. And then you could go into the credential program, which would be $705 per unit, also comparable to many of our sister institutions, like places like APU, Biola, also looking at the state universities like UC Irvine or Cal State Fullerton, or my university, Cal State Long Beach. You can see here, we've got a breakdown of how we offer our programs and what the cost is. Also on the right-hand column, we have our Masters in Education for Curriculum and Instruction or Educational Leadership. And if you're, again, going into a field in education, remember what I was showing you earlier, it is a really good idea early on in your career to get that master's degree because of the impact it can have on your future and your family. Down at the bottom, we have a website, explore.vanguard.edu, and you can look at our education page there to find out even more information about each of these programs. I encourage you to fill out the form there if you're interested in staying in touch with us, because we would love to hear more about you and get to know you more. So sometimes people ask, what does a credential program look like? And this is just a quick way to kind of explain our option at Vanguard. Once you've finished your bachelor's degree, if you're not doing the ITEP option where you're doing your bachelor's degree with your credential program, if you're doing it after you finish the bachelor's, you can do it in as little as 2 semesters. So sometimes people don't know that. They think a teaching credential might take longer or even shorter, but it's important to know that here at Vanguard, we have a 2 semester or a 3 semester plan. And the differences between the two is that with the 3 semester plan, there's not the student teaching requirement in the first semester. You start that work in the second semester. We divide our student teaching experience into 2 semesters. So we have the beginning student teaching or BST in semester 1. And there we're focused on the art and science of teaching, which is another word for it is pedagogy. And then we have the second semester of student teaching, where the focus of that semester is on the clinical practice, the student teaching experience, and you're going to do more hours full-time student teaching in that program. Now, there is no way to get a California teaching credential and not do student teaching. You have to do student teaching, and most of us would say that student teaching is the most important part of your experience of being well prepared to be a teacher. So student teaching is part of it. You would do a great job. And in our program, we believe that you would find a lot of support and have a lot of great success. Now, we also offer a dual credential option for those who are completing the multiple or single subject programs that you can go on and complete an additional set of units and an additional set of field work in order to get a second credential, not adding an authorization or adding a subject area, but literally getting a second credential in Ed Specialist, becoming a special education certified credentialed teacher. And so this option is available for our folks who are finishing our program. And we're excited to offer this because, as I mentioned, there is a great need for Ed specialists in our field. A little bit about PK3 ECE specialist. There is a different structure to the student teaching component for that. And rather than getting into the details of it, I'll welcome some questions about that. But essentially, candidates participate in their clinical fieldwork or practicum, they call it, during the second 8-week session across 2 consecutive semesters. So in the same way, there are 2 semesters of student teaching, but it does look a little different. And with PK3, you can actually get some credit if you have work experience or you have done a practicum course in ECE in the past. Now, let me talk about the MA in education. We do have an excellent option here at Vanguard University where if you have completed our teaching credential program, you can apply your units from the teaching credential program, which is a graduate level program, 500 level courses. You can apply those toward the overall requirement for the master's in education. And what that means practically is you just have to take 4 additional courses to earn a master's degree. Now, this is very important to note here because in the general field of education, to get a master's degree is typically about 30 units. But because here at Vanguard we have the embedded model for our master's degree, we've developed our curriculum in the teaching credential to such an extent that it does apply, academically speaking, toward the master's degree. So what happens is our people will first do the teaching credential, then they'll move into the MA core, which is these 4 courses that I've listed here. And that only takes 2 semesters usually. Sometimes people want to extend that out to 4 semesters, or if they're starting in a spring term, they'll do it in 3 semesters. And guess what? Our masters can also be done online as well. So we offer online for the whole experience, whether you're interested in doing PK3, multiple subject, single subject, or Ed specialist. You can take advantage of this option and just add the additional 4 courses, and you have a master's degree in education through Vanguard. All right, so let me come to my last slide, which is the Q&A, questions and answers. It's hard for me to give answers if I don't have questions. So let me know if you have a question. You can unmute and ask your questions, or you can put your question in the chat and I will answer the best I can. In the meantime, while you're thinking about that, please take note of my email. I did put it in the chat. It is nathan.brais, Brais, at vanguard.edu. I have some wonderful colleagues I would love to connect you with here. You will love the people who work with me here at Vanguard. They are just simply delightful people, very friendly, very caring. And I'm pretty nice too. I mean, depends on the day. So let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to answer your questions. So, Angelica, do you have a degree in chemistry?
Yes. My question is, do you have any program to obtain a credential or chemistry?
We do. We have a chemistry single subject credential. Yes.
Only because I have master in science in chemistry. My question is only the credential. How many months
So
to
it's
be?
2 semesters typically. If you can get your certificate of clearance to start student teaching in the first semester. So you could do it in 1 year. In months, it comes out to about 8 months between the 2 semesters.
Uh, um, the cost? How much about?
The cost. Oh, great question. So it's $705 per unit. And I think that's important to note here. Vanguard does not charge by semester like a flat rate. We charge per unit. So the whole program at $705 dollars per unit comes out to $19,740. And that's by this year's tuition rate. So it's a little less than $20,000 to finish our credential program. And there are lots of great programs now that can help you with the cost of tuition. So in the state of California now, we have the Golden State Teachers Grant, for example, and a lot of our students are getting $10,000 from that grant alone. So you can, of course, you can get loans as well. But that grant program is a very significant amount of funding. So you could basically pay for more than half of the program just by applying to that program, Golden State.
Do you have any telephone number, please?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I can put that in the chat right now.
Yes.
Okay. Let me give you, I'm gonna give you my cell number actually, because I think that will be better. It's my work cell, so you can text me there. All right, good questions, Angelica. Do you have any questions, Veronica or Daisy? I don't want to miss the opportunity to give you some info.
No, thankfully you answered the questions when throughout the view.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. Everybody, that's the number. You can feel free to text me and say hi. I'd love to connect with you.
Another question, please.
Yeah,
This university, where is that in Los Angeles?
the university is located in Costa Mesa. So
Oh,
we're
Costa
just
Mesa.
south of like Anaheim and Santa Ana.
Okay, okay.
We're kind of in this area. But
Okay.
that's kind of why I was mentioning, we do have the online options as well. So if you live in another area that's a little far from Costa Mesa, you can do the program online, or you can do a mix of online and in person sometimes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for that question. All right, Emily, I think we're probably coming to a wrap-up point here. Is there anything